Anna sighed, pulling her backpack from her chair at the end of another day at school. Her mind was full of scattered thoughts, the math she couldn't understand, the whispers of classmates who never included her, and the constant feeling of invisibility. Ever since she had moved to that town with her parents, everything seemed out of place. It wasn't as if it had been very different before. Anna had always been a quiet person, hard to notice. While she was going through her books and notebooks, something caught her eye. A bright red envelope stood out at the bottom of her backpack. She frowned, wondering who could have put it there. There was no one she could think of. Most of her classmates barely knew her name. Curious, she carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a card in gold letters. "You are invited to the great circus party. Come and celebrate with smiles." In the bottom corner, an address and a time were written down, that same Friday, at 9 p.m. Anna turned the card over several times, as if to find some clue as to who had sent it. Maybe it was a hoax. Perhaps someone had taken pity on her and tried to do something kind. But why such a strange invitation? She thought about asking her colleagues the next day, but, as always, no one seemed interested in talking to her. When she mentioned the invitation casually, she received only confused looks and shrugged shoulders. The feeling of being isolated only increased. The balloon hadn't been there before. Anna hesitated, but eventually followed the balloon to the sidewalk. Her eyes followed a path of identical balloons, each tied to lampposts, guiding her like a map to the address of the invitation. The trail of red balloons seemed endless, but Anna kept walking, guided by a mixture of curiosity and discomfort. At every corner, another balloon tied to a lamppost pointed the way. The night was cold, and the sound of her footsteps echoed through the empty streets. Finally, she arrived at the address indicated on the invitation. She stopped in front of a large rusty iron gate that looked like it hadn't been opened for years. Beyond the gate, what looked like a deserted circus stood in the moonlight. There was a main tent, large and striped in red and white, with faded flags fluttering in the wind. Anna pushed open the gate with difficulty, the loud creak sounding like a warning not to enter. However, something inside her forced her to keep going. The air around her was heavy, charged with a sensation that was hard to explain. As she approached the tent, the music began. A soft, repetitive carousel melody that seemed to come from everywhere. Anna felt a shiver run down her spine, but she kept going. "Welcome," a deep, lively voice echoed inside the tent as she entered. Anna stopped, her eyes adjusting to the dimness. In the center of the empty space stood a clown. He wore a colorful suit, big shoes and a pointed hat. His face was covered in impeccable makeup, his broad smile painted in white and red. "You're the first to arrive," said the clown, bowing in exaggerated reverence. "But don't worry, the party's just getting started." Anna took a step back, her mind working fast. "Who are you? Who sent the invitation?" The clown laughed, a long, drawn-out laugh that sounded both amused and threatening. "I'm the host, of course. And the invitation? It was a special gift for you, Anna." Her heart raced. He knew her name. She tried to remember if she had said anything, but she was sure she hadn't. How do you know who I am?" The clown just shrugged, the bells on his hat jingling with the movement. "It's my job to know. After all, the party is for you. Now, come along. There's so much to explore." Anna hesitated, but the clown held out his hand, inviting her to go ahead. She didn't want to accept, but something in his eyes, dark eyes that seemed to have no end, made her feel that she had no choice. He led her to the center of the tent. There, a small carousel rotated slowly, its lights flashing irregularly. Red balloons floated on the ceiling, and a table full of sweets and cakes stood out in the corner. Everything looked tailor-made, as if it had come straight out of a dream, or a nightmare. "So, what do you think? It's all for you." The clown spread his arms, as if he were putting on a show. Anna tried to find the words, but couldn't. The feeling of discomfort only grew. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Where are the other people? She finally asked. The clown stared at her for a moment, his smile frozen on his face. Then he laughed again. Ah, Anna. But you don't need anyone else, do you? You're the star tonight. The music from the carousel got louder, and the lights in the tent seemed to flash in sync. Anna took another step back, trying to process the situation. Every instinct in her body was screaming at her to get out of there, but when she looked at the entrance to the tent, she realized that the path had disappeared. All she could see was a black void, as if the tent was cut off from the rest of the world. Don't try to run away, Anna. You've been chosen for this party. The clown approached slowly, his smile now looking more like a threat. And we haven't even started yet. The air inside the tent seemed denser by the second, as if space itself was closing in around Anna. Her breathing was short, but she tried to stay calm. I shouldn't be here. This was a mistake, she said, taking another step back. The clown tilted his head to the side, his smile widening almost impossibly. A mistake? Oh, no, Anna. You're exactly where you should be. Now come on, the fun's just beginning. He snapped his fingers, and the lights inside the tent flickered, revealing more details of the circus. Balloons floated through the air, carrying messages written in gold ink. Anna narrowed her eyes to read, but when the words became clear, her stomach churned. Alone. Nobody cares. Forgotten. She tried to look away, but the balloons seemed to follow her, floating close enough that the words were impossible to ignore. Who wrote that? She asked, her voice shaking. The clown laughed again, the laughter echoing through the tent as if it were coming from everywhere. They're just truths, Anna. You know that. She shook her head, trying to shake off the growing feeling of panic. Is this a joke? Who did this? The clown didn't answer immediately. Instead, he began to walk around her, his large shoes echoing on the tent floor. Tell me, Anna. How many friends do you have? Who remembers your birthday? Who cares about you? Those words hit her like knives. She tried to reply, but her mind was empty. Oh, look. Isn't it wonderful? He spread his arms, spinning in a dramatic circle. This whole party, just for you. Because, after all, no one else would come, would they? Anna felt the tears start to form, but refused to let them fall. She didn't know how, but she had to get out of there. She tried to run to where she thought the entrance was, but instead of finding the exit, she came across a huge mirror. The reflection in the mirror wasn't just hers. Behind Anna, the clown was staring at her, but now without the smile. His face was empty, expressionless, his eyes even deeper, like bottomless pits. Don't try to run away, Anna, he said, his voice sounding different now, darker, as if it came from inside her. She turned to face him directly, but he was no longer there. When she looked in the mirror again, the clown had returned, and this time he was holding a golden balloon with a new message, accept who you are. Enough. Anna shouted, feeling her anger growing. I don't need you. That's a lie. The clown reappeared behind her, without warning. His laugh was closer, lower, almost a whisper. Oh, but it's true. You know it is. And now, you have to choose, accept it or stay here forever. The music on the carousel began to spin faster, each dissonant note echoing in her mind. Anna felt the ground shake slightly, as if the tent was about to collapse. Choose, Anna, said the clown, his voice mixed with the sound of music and laughter. There's no turning back. Anna was surrounded. The balloons with cruel words floated around her, the music from the carousel swirled in her mind, and the clown's empty gaze seemed to pierce her. Panic threatened to take over, but in the midst of the confusion, something inside her refused to give in. I'm not staying here, she muttered, trying to gather her courage. The clown laughed, his face lighting up with false joy. Oh, but you're already here, Anna. This is the only place where you really matter. Where you're the center of everything. She shook her head vigorously. That's not true. You're trying to trick me. The clown stepped forward, his figure seeming to grow. I'm not lying, Anna. Think of all the times you felt forgotten, when no one saw you. I see you. Here, you'll never be ignored. Anna felt a pang in her heart. His words echoed what she herself had thought so many times, but something was wrong. She realized that this place, this party, wasn't meant to save her, it was a prison. You're not here to help me. You're here to imprison me. His voice, although shaky, carried a new determination. The clown's smile disappeared for the first time. His black eyes seemed to glow with a contained rage. I gave you a chance, Anna. A chance to escape the pain. But the pain is part of me, she replied, feeling the truth of her own words. I can handle it. You won't control me. The floor of the tent began to shake, as if the space itself was collapsing. The clown held up the golden balloon, now stained with slowly dripping black ink. If you refuse, you'll have to carry this weight yourself. Do you think you can? Anna took a step forward, facing the clown directly. Yes. I can. With that, she reached out and popped the balloon. The sound was deafening, like an explosion that reverberated throughout the tent. The light flickered, and everything around her began to dissolve, the circus disappearing into a thick fog. The last thing she saw was the clown's look of disapproval before he too disappeared. Anna opened her eyes, panting. She was lying on the floor of her bedroom, the dim morning light streaming in through the window. For a moment, everything seemed like a dream, but the heaviness in her chest said otherwise. Slowly getting up, she looked around. Everything seemed normal, except for one detail. On her desk, there was a red balloon. The message written on it made her blood run cold. See you at the next party. Anna took a deep breath, staring at the balloon for a moment before turning to the window. Outside, the world went on as if nothing had happened, but she knew that something inside her had changed. She was no longer willing to run away from her own fears.